everybody. Welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. Just Derek here today. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. I do have author here, Steven Hubbard, and I just finished your book here. I guess it's been a week and a half. I don't think it's quite been 2 weeks yet, but and so we're going to chat about your book.
Nice.
This green screen, not green screen, but background doesn't do me any favors here. But a conspiracy of ravens.
Yeah.
So
that one right up there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
It's hidden back there.
It looks like you got a pretty good book collection going.
It's pretty sizable. It goes down to the end of the hall and then wraps around and comes back. And then I've got another one here and another one here. So yeah, a goodly assortment.
Nice. Yeah, mine are all packed up in totes. It looks like I see some Sword of Truth.
Yeah, we've got some of the Sword of Truth books in there.
Is that Wheel of Time up there in the middle?
Wheel of Time.
Okay. I'm just trying to see what I can see.
Yeah, my John Gwyn's over there, my Dune books, Robin Hobb down there. The big crystal setup over there. My Steven Erickson is over there. I'm still rereading the first book. So
how's that going for you?
So, I slowed down a little with everything that was going on with graduation for my daughter and parties and everything. So it's been a handful of weeks since I've picked it up, but it's still sitting right next to my nightstand. So it's within view every day.
Just that gentle reminder then.
That's right. It's just hovering there, speaking to me every day.
Yeah. All my books are sadly still packed up in totes. So hopefully before winter I can have them unpacked and have the house back together.
Yeah, you're getting that lower level work done, right?
The project is done. Now it's just putting it back together. We've got last weekend my dad came and we got probably a third of it sheetrocked of what we need to do, I would guess. The biggest wall's done. So progress.
Nice.
So yeah. Well, I've got, like I was telling you beforehand here, I've got some questions for you. We'll just roll through those. I guess first thing I want to just, everybody who's listening to this, thank you. And thanks for being patient while I'm going through these home projects, because listening to our last couple episodes, my audio doesn't sound as good as I would like it. And I know Justin tries to clean things up as much as he can, but I'm just recording in a different spot. And it just doesn't sound like it normally does where I would normally record. So it's annoying, probably more so to me than anybody else. I don't think you'll notice it, just you and I talking, but listening to it, I'll definitely notice it. So
it's not posing any problems for me. So,
well, good deal. Yeah, so I was actually lucky enough to meet you here. I don't know, what was it? Beginning of June, end of May, somewhere around there?
Yeah, end of May. It was in the middle of May, I think. Yeah, middle to end of May.
Middle of May.
Yeah.
Okay. And this will kind of lead into my first question, but yeah, I had picked up your book. I had first saw you on Beard of Darkness, and I watched long enough to hear that you lived in Minnesota, and that's when I stopped, and I went and bought your book, and then I got to meet you, sometime after that, and got you to sign it, which was really cool for me, and just to get to sit down and hang out with you and have a beer and just kind of chit chat, all before I even read your book. So I was very grateful and thankful that you took the time to do that, just as I am now to be doing.
I'll tell you, I was just as grateful to give you the time. I mean, to have somebody that's interested enough to actually want to sit down and talk to you and spend some time with you and get to know you, that's kind of cool. So I was more than happy to do it.
Yeah, I felt really good about it right away. Like, maybe you kind of had the same thoughts in your head. You're like, oh, is this going to be weird or awkward or anything like that? And it totally wasn't. It was a good time, and I would definitely do it again. So
yeah. Well, you know how to get a hold of me.
I do. Yeah. And today we'll just do it over the computer. But
That's right.
yeah, we don't live that far apart from each other, which is kind of unique. But I had to support a Minnesota author, though you're not originally from Minnesota. It is home now.
Correct.
So.
It has been I've lived in Minnesota more years than I've not lived in Minnesota.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, it's a good place. I think I like it. I struggle to imagine living anywhere else, but that's just me.
Yeah, other places are nice too.
I'm sure they're nice, but it's just I don't know.
Everything has its positives and negatives.
Yeah, that's true. So I bought your book, got you to sign it. I just finished your book. First question here, I'd just be curious, if you can just tell everybody a little bit of your journey as an indie author. I know some of these things you and I probably talked about in
Yep.
person, a month and a half ago, but so some of it might be a little bit of a rehash from that, but
Yeah.
we got plenty of time.
Well, my journey. Well, how far back do you want to go? Like, like the whole impetus to even wanting to be a writer goes back to when I was a kid. My mom taught me to read before I went to kindergarten, which infuriated my kindergarten teacher, who called my mom and said, "You can't do that. That's my job." And so I was able to read. I've been reading from a very early age, and I've always been caught up in reading, hence the library.
Yes, it's a nice library.
It's my favorite room in the house. I love it. But then it was kind of the double decker for me. I saw the animated version of The Hobbit on TV and absolutely fell in love with that. And then I found out there was a book. So I went to the library and I took out The Hobbit and read that. And then, of course, right from there, you go into The Lord of the Rings. So in fourth grade, I read The Lord of the Rings.
It's pretty early.
It is early. And a lot of it goes right over your head when you're in fourth grade. But that's why you read it, every year. And you keep picking stuff up as you go. But in addition to that, I got hit with Star Wars coming out. And being a young kid, 6, 7, the target age for wow factor, I still remember sitting in that theater and watching that Star Destroyer come through the top of the screen and just keep going and going and going. And it just amazed me. And from that moment, combined with the other, I knew I wanted to write stories like this, great fantasy things. And I don't do much sci-fi, but I do enjoy sci-fi. But to be creative like that, I knew that's always what I wanted to do. And then in 7th grade, I read Stephen Donaldson, his Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. And that really pushed me even more. That also coincided with me beginning to play Dungeons and Dragons, which I got as a birthday present for my 13th birthday, the old red box. And I just immersed myself in all of that. And by the time I was 16, I started writing. And then life happened, as it usually does.
Right. Yeah.
You move, you go through college, you get married, you start having kids, you move, because I moved a lot. And then finally it just reached a point where it's like, I'm getting older. I don't have time to mess around with this anymore. We're going to do this. And I just sat down and banged the book out over a handful of months. Now, that's not to say I didn't already have big chunks of it already in my mind, and I'd already had chapters written from before. So it was basically going back, looking at that stuff and going, wow, that's absolute garbage, but I can work with this. And so you clean it up and you fix it and you make it more adult as opposed to the 16-year-old version.
Sure.
And there it is. Hired an editor, had him go through it, hired a cover designer, and she did it. I had kind of decided pretty early on as I was writing it that I was just going to do it myself. The book publishing world has become a little bit unstable, and a little bit of a very rocky sea. And, it's always been a tough nut to crack anyway. Like slush piles, you're looking at thousands of books that these editors are picking up and dropping, like within 5 minutes. Like if it doesn't catch them right away, they're done. And you just get lost in that pile. But then it was, do I want to pay an agent and the publisher to have them siphon off the money that I could be getting for myself? Do I want to yield control of what I want to say and how I want to say it to somebody else who might not necessarily have my best interest at heart? They're looking at their own bottom line and they have their own ideas and opinions. And I've got some friends who are in both worlds. They're kind of hybrids. They are published traditionally and they're also self-publishing. And, those stories are kind of nightmares. And that's not to say I wouldn't happily be traditionally published were that to ever happen. But coming out of the gate one time just for myself, I was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and do this. We'll see what happens. The response I've gotten has been very good. So I don't really have many quibbles with that. I don't think I made the wrong decision. I'm not sleeping on a pile of money, but the chances of doing that even as a traditionally published author are almost non-existent anyway. You really be like the top 1% to really make it that big. And you don't always do it with the first book. It could be several books down the line. But I just wanted to kind of be in control of everything. I've got a say in how the cover comes out. I work with my editor very closely, and we talk about how what's working and what isn't working, and fix things up. I've got a real nice handful of beta readers that go through everything. They scour for all kinds of errors, continuity errors, spelling errors, all of that. So I'm kind of covered all the way around. So I just kind of looked around at what kind of made the most sense in terms of self-publishing. There's a lot of different routes that people can go in order to do it. And I went with Amazon mostly because their terms were excellent. The rate of return on your money coming back was higher than the other places that were offering services. And, even that you've kind of fiddled with a little bit. I still do the paper version through them, but the digital I've shifted so that's across all boards now. So you can get it through Apple, you can get it at Barnes and Noble, Smashwords, like all the different online, Kobo, it's available there. So it's available wide in the digital version. For a while, it was exclusive. For the first year, I had it exclusive to Amazon. But algorithms are fun things to try to play with to get people to pay attention to it so that it rises and stays where people see it. And I haven't mastered that yet. It's part of the trials and tribulations of a first-time self-pub guy. But once the Kindle Unlimited reads started dropping, and it wasn't being foisted back up there. I tried doing ads and things like that with very little return on those. So it was just a case of trying to maximize. So once I've gone wide and I've put it in some other places now, I have gotten more sales through some of these other places, which has been kind of nice. But I'm not disappointed at doing it myself. I've had a good time. I'm looking forward to getting book 2 done and getting that out there and going about it pretty much the same way. So.
I imagine it must be very rewarding feeling doing it all yourself and retaining that control.
Yeah,
I feel like it would be hard, something you put so much time into to kind of give that up to,
yeah,
like you said, somebody else.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, the thing is, like, I've got like nightmare stories from people I know, um, who were traditionally published and who were told you have to change this word, and if you don't change it, we're dropping your contract. Like one word, that's all it was.
It seems silly.
And it's like, and he didn't change it. He was like, to heck with it. And he got dropped, and he published it directly himself, and he's crushing it in the self pub world. So that's good for him. But um, it's you never know what you're going to run into, and at least when I'm doing it myself, I know who I am. I know what I like. Um, I do take feedback from my beta readers and things like that. So if even if I'm pretty sold on something, if it's just not working, I will look into changing something. But like I said, that first book came out. Like you just throw it out there and you just like cross your fingers and hope something good happens. And like I spiked sales pretty early and got a really nice return, from people buying the book, and it did. Word spread pretty good at the start, and the reviews that I got back on it were all good. So I was really happy. Um, I couldn't have been more pleased, other than it, like taking off like crazy and
Sure.
landing me some mega deal somewhere. But for a first book, I was completely happy. And all I want to do now is get the second book out, and I want to see that one grow and surpass that.
Well, I'm excited to read it whenever it comes out. And I will say, I think, having a good cover for your book, everybody says, oh, don't judge a book by its cover, but ultimately people do, right? I mean, it draws them into it. And I love the cover for your book.
Well, thank you. My
If
cover artist, she did such a great job. I was so happy with her.
Yeah, it really, I will say, like, based on the cover of the book, I was expecting I was expecting a different story than what I actually got, and that was a good thing, I think, and I'll bring that up a little bit later here in some other questions and that type of thing. But
Yeah, the whole thing about covers, like people always, like you said, they always say, don't judge a book by its cover. If that were true, publishers wouldn't spend as much money on cover art as they do. Every book
right,
would just be blank with a name on it.
yeah, a level of playing field, I'm sure, but
Yeah, but cover art is there for a reason. It draws your eye, and if you're not going to find my book in a bookstore, but when you're scrolling, if it gets you to stop and look at the book and see what it's about to see if it's going to work for you, then that cover's working. And you may not be able to judge the contents of the book by the cover, but you're not going to stop and look at that book if it doesn't attract you.
right. I guess this would be a good time to bring up the question I got from our patron. It goes by the name Dead Smell. I
Nice.
don't know if is that Malzahn or no.
I don't know, but
Oh, okay,
it evokes a very strong sensation.
gotcha. Your reaction, I wasn't sure because pretty much majority of our patrons have, we get nicknames from them for fun and stuff, and a good chunk of them are Malzahn related, but not all of them. And that one I just didn't know, so I didn't know if by your reaction, I didn't know if that was maybe one or not. But Desmond was curious. Some of your favorite book covers of yours.
Oh boy, that's tough, because there's a lot of good book covers. I always really loved The Hobbit, that had the Tolkien art that he did on the cover with the mountain and the dragon and the moon. That one has always been a favorite of mine. Um, the guy could do everything. It was crazy. Um, Man, I'm just kind of looking around here. That
I didn't
that one,
necessarily know if these would also be like favorite books as well, or not. But
Yeah. Actually, this John Gwynne book here, The Shadow of the Gods. I love the art on this, where it's got the dragon and you can see the warrior down here at the bottom, and it loops all the way around to the back, so you get a full presentation there. I think that's a fantastic cover. And all three of them are like that. The second one's got like a serpent snake head, and there's the third one's got like a wolf.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they're all massive. I haven't read those yet, but I have them, and I just like again like the cover just makes me wonder like is the dragon or whatever the other monsters are they really that massive compared to the person?
yeah. Well, who knows? How big are dragons compared to people? Like,
Well, that one's pretty big.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
looking at the cover.
he is. Another one that I really, really like is a cover that Dan Dos Santos did. I met Dan at a convention. Trying to, I can't remember exactly which book it is, but he did cover art for one of the Wheel of Time paperbacks. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I actually bought a print of that, and he signed it. Yeah, so it was this deal here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Fires of Heaven, isn't it? Is that the
Yeah,
cover for that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Fires of Heaven. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I don't have the paperbacks. I only own the hardcovers. So,
Uh-huh.
but I actually have that signed print framed right here above my desk. So
Nice.
that one was always a favorite of mine. It's just absolutely gorgeous cover.
I am a sucker for the Daryl K. Sweet covers. Not even just his Wheel of Time stuff. Just
Yeah,
I don't remember what other series he did covers for, but I've always just liked that style.
I think he did the covers for Piers Anthony, some of his Xanth novels, and he did the original artwork for the Thomas Covenant series from Stephen R. Donaldson.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, those were incredible. I always loved those. Yeah, it's like this one here.
I haven't read any of those, but I've seen them.
Yeah, Donaldson's one of my pillars. Another one would be the cover to the Dragonbone Chair, the original cover to the Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams.
Is that the green one?
Yes.
Or he's like the one character is like holding another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've recovered them, and I don't like the new art as much as the original art, but yeah, that original cover, that cover made me buy that book.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know because I must have been a freshman in high school, and I remember seeing that cover, and it intrigued me enough to pick it up, but I think it was kind of above my pay grade at the time, and I didn't make it very far into it. And so it's one of those, I'll get to it someday, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and then I would say probably lastly, I would go with all of the Larry Elmore covers for the Dragonlance trilogy. Dragons of Autumn Night, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter Night, Dragons of Spring Dawning. His covers on those just absolutely extraordinary. And those came out like when I was in high school, right in the middle of all the heavy fantasy stuff, playing D&D pretty much daily. Those books came out, those covers were absolute. And what's funny is that series, I actually read the second book first because the store could never get stock of the first book. I'm like, well, I'm tired of waiting, so I'll just read the second book first. And then then I bought the third book, and then they finally got stock of the first book. So then I went back, read the first book, second book, and then third book. But yeah, I read the second book to that one first.
I've not read any Dragonlance books in a long time. In high school, I did read a number of them. I don't remember which ones, but now I've been hunting them down and collecting them, and I've got a pretty sizable collection of Dragonlance books.
Nice. Yeah, I only have the two compendium editions of the original trilogy and then the sequel trilogy. And then I've got a couple of the singles that came after that. Summer Night, or Dragons of Summer Flame, The Second Age, and then I've got the three new ones that most recently came out. I'm not a big fan of the cover art on those. I don't think they did a very good job. They declined Larry Elmore for the covers for those, and I think that was a big mistake.
Oh, I guess I wouldn't have known who the cover artist was, but
yeah, I still don't know who it was, but apparently it was just like computer generated art, and it just doesn't have the same gravitas that Larry Elmore art does. One of my all-time favorite pieces of Elmore art is the scene of Sturm Brightblade dead on top of the tower, and Lorena is over him holding the dragon lance and looking up off the page at where Kitiara is on the dragon. That art is by far the best thing from him I have ever seen. I absolutely love that piece of artwork. It's a shame that was one of the book covers, because it would have been a great book cover, but it was in the calendar. And I still remember I framed that picture for a long time.
I'll have to try to maybe see if I can Google that and find it.
Yeah,
check that picture out.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's amazing.
I always forget to do this lately. So lately when Justin and I have been recording, I usually come at him with some bullshit question just for fun, just to lighten the mood, that type of thing. And I forgot to do it at the beginning again, but so we'll do it now. So, and I've got a feeling I might know what you say to this question. We'll see. You're a big hockey fan.
Yes.
Like me. Hit me with your hockey hot take.
My hockey hot take?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
What hot take can I give you? The Buffalo Sabres will make the playoffs this year.
Okay, that's not what I thought you were going to say. I don't know.
It's been 14 years. They've got to get in now.
They could be like the new Chicago Cubs for a while. I don't know.
Ugh, it would be horrible. That would be my hot take. I think Buffalo's going to make the playoffs this year.
All right. I was expecting you to say, what you told me before is that you never want a Canadian team to win the Cup.
Oh no, I don't. They bug me. Unless Quebec comes back, then they're allowed to win the Cup. But other than that, I don't want any of the other Canadian teams. Montreal's won it too many times. They don't need it anymore.
I wonder why. Now you got me. I'm thinking about hockey stuff, and it's like there's always a rumor that Atlanta's getting a team back again. Like, why are we trying this again?
Yeah, well, because it's about the money. That's what it's about, and what they're charging now for the fee. I don't know.
It's insane.
The news about the $1 billion for the fee is like, holy cow, that's insane.
Yeah, well, for sure.
And then they have to put up 50% of the funding if they need to build a new arena. So you're looking at another $300,000 at least.
Well, I mean, if you could cobble together $1 billion for the fee, you could probably scrape up a few more quarters for the arena, I would think.
Well, you would think, but these owners, they try to avoid paying for as much as possible.
Somewhere along the way, they figured it out where the rest of us didn't. So
that's why all these arenas get paid for with tax levies.
Yeah.
But at least the Wild paid theirs back.
There's that. Now that'll be Treasure Island Arena or whatever the heck they decided. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Just everywhere is gambling. That's all.
Yeah.
Just inundated. So you can't watch anything now without some kind of what's the DraftKings sport line for whatever it is I'm looking at today.
Right. Yeah. I guess if you care, my hot take would be that I don't think Miracle is that good of a movie.
Oh, how dare you?
It would have been a lot better. It would be a lot better if it wasn't made by Disney.
Okay, I'll give you some credit there. That might be true. It probably could have been a little more
Rough.
true to the roughness of things. But what they did with that movie, I have no qualms about that at all. I mean, I still remember being a kid and watching that happen, and it's still an amazing thing to me. We still watch that every February. We throw it in
Yeah.
on the anniversary and we watch it again. So it ranks highly. There aren't too many great hockey movies, but of the ones that are out there, it certainly is up there among the better of them.
Slapshot.
Slapshot's classic. Goon, I thought was funny, but it's not really a very good hockey movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Youngblood is not really a great hockey movie, but it had a couple Flyers playing in the movie, so.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I've got like an HBO special DVD on it's called "Do You Believe in Miracles?" and
Yeah.
I would prefer to watch that over the movie Miracle. But
Oh, sure. And there's two great documentaries. They came out pretty much right on top of each other. ESPN did one of them. It was one of those 30 for 30 movies. I'm blanking on the name of it right now. But there was also another one that came out called Red Army.
was that the Russian side of it?
It's the Russians.
I think I've seen that.
And it's essentially the story of Slava Fetisov. And it's fantastic, like to see what was going on, like through their training, like how they trained and how their team was put together, and the strictness of the way things were designed for them. It was pretty crazy, like not allowing a guy to go home for his father's funeral because you have to train, you can't leave. Like,
Yeah, that's
crazy.
brutal.
And the mind games that they played. Yeah, those two together, if you watch those, they connect with each other very well. Those are really cool. I have those. I watch those pretty regular too.
I think I've seen that one, or there's something similar to it, anyways. But it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a little bit of a digression there, but good
Always
conversation.
happy for a hockey diversion. It's all hockey's always on the menu. So
Yeah. Next question. So the story you've had your story with you for like a long time.
yes.
Even before you wrote it, and you said, like you've had good chunks of it in your head. But how, I guess, can you tell me how that came to be? Which I think that's a little different than maybe asking, your journey as a author, but like, how did the story come to be for you? I guess, how did it change as you've progressed through writing it?
Well, how did it come to be? I don't know that there is ever an easy way to answer that question. It just came. It was there in your head, and you just start writing it out. Some of the characters were characters from D&D campaigns I was in with friends of mine. And I just kind of like took bits and pieces of characters and used them. None of it is taken from any game session. So it's not like a RPG turned into a novel or anything like that. But just at that time when I was that age, I mean, there were no bad ideas, so you just wrote them all down and off you went. Um, they changed as I got older. You know, your view on things changes, your opinions on things change, um, life events change you. Um, One of the biggest changes in that story. Um, so there's that dark element that Kelnor has at the beginning of the book, and that struggle that he has with the loss in his life. And that actually came out of my own personal experience in having my wife at the time miscarried when she was late in a pregnancy, and so I lost a daughter, and that was an incredibly gut wrenching moment. Nothing to the level of what happens in the book. I mean, you've got to, you take the emotions and you use those. You don't use the actual event as it happened because that's just not cool enough for a fantasy story. But so Kelnor has to grapple with that pain, and that there's that moment in the book where he has that dream and he sits with her and he talks with
Yes.
his daughter. I've had that happen. And I remember waking up the first time that ever happened and just absolutely bawling at what had happened. And immediately the next day, I began writing that element of the story. And so he has a lot of pain that he has to work through, and a lot of that was put in there because this was a cathartic thing for me, was to put this in here and have him work through that as I worked through that. It's been quite some time, but the pain of that type of loss, you don't ever really get over that. Um, but that changed, and then like the basic thread of the story that changed a lot too, because you look back at all your notes and like even the map that I had made, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. This would never work. So I have to recreate a map and rejigger things and rename things and just try to give it a little more weight as opposed to just being fanciful and having no explanation. That's always the thing. Your fantasy must be realistic. It's got to have some semblance of being possible. So you've got to walk that fine line between being just serious and normal enough that people can relate to it, but also fantastical enough that they want to see where it goes because they haven't been there before.
That Kelnor's dream, and I guess when I read the book, I always thought it was Selnor. Not I didn't know it was Kelnor, but
Yeah,
uh,
which is fine. Which is fine. There are authors that really fixate on people saying things the right way. I have my way of saying them the way that they've been generated in my head, but I want people to say them how it helps them remember them.
That's
To
fair.
me, it doesn't matter.
I guess when I'm reading, I want to try to be true to what the author intended. I mean,
Sure.
if I'm able, but yeah, his dream. I mean, that I could tell it was a very personal moment, and I mean that moment that sequence in the story about had me in tears. I mean, I was right there. I don't remember if I was at home reading it or a lot of times if I'm donating plasma, I'll bring a book and I'll be reading there. It might have been there. I don't remember, and it was just a heart-stopping moment. Um, and that was kind of one of my questions for later is that it I think a lot of things in life are timing, like how I got to meet you before I read your book, um, getting to know you a little bit as a person, and then I had read that moment in the book, and then probably within, I think it was within a few days of that, you had made a tweet about that moment in time in your life, and that's kind of where things really connected for me. Um, must have been very hard, I'm sure. Like you said, nothing you'll completely get over, but man, that was, like I said, that was kind of, I was gonna ask about that a little bit, but I think you kind of addressed it there. So
Yeah. And yeah, it doesn't ever go away. It's like, it's so strange because you'll be just out doing something, like taking a walk, or you'll be watching something, and you just get this thought like, what would she be doing now if she was here and, she was 17? What would her life be at this point? And that comes up frequently.
just the what ifs and the everyday what ifs.
Yeah. And a lot of that, the echoes of all that pain carries over into book two. And so book two is called A Plague of Ghosts. And it's not so much dealing with this notion of, there's hauntings and there's ghosts and there's, these spirits that they're out and about. The point that gets made by one of the characters, and it's actually during a conversation with Kelnor, is that when we lose people, they don't become ghosts. You do. Because a part of you that was connected to them is lost when they're gone. And you become ghosts more and more as you lose more and more people in your life. And the trick is hanging on to your humanity and living in your life. And it also, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of loss over my life, a lot of deaths that were not necessary, and and that plays also with my cousin Tom. His son died a couple years ago now, just like a week after his 13th birthday, and and so that comes back into me. It's like, okay, I've been grieving for years for the daughter that I didn't get to have. He now has to deal with the loss of a son that he's known and that he's raised and that he's seen become a young man with his dreams and his hopes and his plans for the future already laid out. Bright kid, amazing kid. And now he's gone. And again, it's just, how do you cope with that loss? It's unbelievable what people go through when they lose people close to them, and people outside don't really realize even the extent, until it happens to them, and then
Right.
But then you're lost in your own loss, and you don't extrapolate that out to, oh, that's why he behaved that way. That's
Yeah, you're not thinking. I guess I don't know that I would say rationally, but
yeah. So book two is going to be dealing a lot with the concept of losing yourself as you suffer losses and trying to cope with that and remaining a true person to who you are and being able to continue. And that's where the title came from. It also came from a song, but I liked the title.
oh, I wouldn't have known it was a song. I don't think.
The idea. So,
Well, I'm excited to check it out. I mean, I want to read a book that's gonna, kind of make me hurt a little bit. Make me feel the feels. And this first book definitely did that, and I think it's different, as maybe somebody who isn't a parent maybe isn't going to have that same
right.
reaction to somebody who is. So
Right. But maybe you've lost a parent, maybe you've lost a sibling or a friend or a grandparent. It all affects you, and if it happens enough, it affects you a little more acutely than it does other people sometimes. And it also depends on your relationship with these people. If it's a grandparent you've met one time and you don't really know them, and you find out that they passed away, it might not have as much of an effect on you. But we're going to be dealing with more intimate, more personal loss in the book. Not that the whole book's going to be a big downer. I've got lots of fun in there too. There's some good adventure in there. I'm particularly looking forward to people's reactions when Darrigan and his mission get up into the North Country, into the snow, and they encounter some new people up there. So that's been one of my favorite parts to write so far. So
What? Because there's looking the North. What was it? I didn't jot some of the stuff down, and I should have, because he's looking for an artifact, right? Was it the North Star? Not the North Star, is it? Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
The Star of the North.
Star of the North. Okay, I had the right words, wrong order.
Yeah. Which, of course, is the name of our fair state.
That's why I was kind of hung up. Like, I don't think it was quite like that, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was either.
No, that I appropriated that a little bit, but yeah, it's quite an adventure for them, that's for sure, and they meet some very interesting people.
Well, I like that you told me he's going to go on the adventure, because I know in the book he kind of, he's kind of left to make that decision if he wants to do it or not. Well, nothing is going to make you do it, but you're good at finding things. So
yeah, that's exactly true. But yeah, we've got a few more characters that are going to be introduced. One who's probably one of my two favorite characters in the entire thing gets introduced in the second book. He's so cool. I'm so excited to finally have him show up.
Interesting. Okay, because I think probably my favorite character throughout the whole book was the Shrike.
Yeah, he's pretty wicked, isn't he?
He is, and when I read him, all I could think of was Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like, that was the vibe I got. Like,
Right.
He's just here to be a menace and cause problems.
Well, the Shrike has got a plan, and you're going to learn more about the Shrike in book 2.
Okay. I don't know, because right now we don't know who he answers to.
Right.
Unless you drop hints, I don't know if there's anything that would lead us to an answer there, but Nope. The way things were going, I kind of had a thought in my head, well, I wonder if somehow it's Tessalin.
It's a good theory. It's not true, but it's a good theory.
All right. I guess I'll just be patient and I'll have to wait. Some of these you addressed in your afterward at the end of the book, but and even you talked about some of your favorite books already.
Mm-hmm.
But are those favorite books? Are those some of the influences for the story as well? For me, I was really impressed with your writing. I thought your writing was really good. You paint such a clear picture, like I could just visualize everything. And so as I was reading this, it reminded me a lot of Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones, and even like Lord of the Rings.
Thank you.
I think one of the coolest things, and you did it a few different times, but we get these kind of like these lore drops a little bit. Like, you talk about an event that happened in the past. There was this war, or what's the lake? I'm sorry. I
The crystal.
didn't prepare very.
The crystal.
Mirror.
Yeah.
we learned, so like at one point, like that was all bloody, and then eventually it cleared up. But like, I love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just kind of feels like a tease. You give us just a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I want more of this stuff. And I just,
That's the whole point, is you want people to want more. So you give them a little bit, and you just keep sprinkling some through there. I just, for your own putting some ease to your mind, I do have a novella for what will basically give you the story of the Crystal Mirror Lake and the events.
ooh,
So
nice.
that will be forthcoming. So I have probably half of that already in very rough form. I started writing that a couple of years ago. So it's just a matter of cleaning up the first half and then finishing it. But I'm hoping to put that out after book 3. It's
Okay.
a tide between book 3 and book 4.
All right. This isn't I got a couple questions that just kind of came to my mind now. So these aren't ones that I had pre-prepared or anything, but so when you were writing this, and even I guess as you continue to write, do you write linearly as you go, or are you jumping around?
I don't jump around too much. I tend to go right from beginning to end. Occasionally, that won't be the case because I'll just kind of have some story epiphany, like in the middle of nowhere, and be like, oh, this is a thing that has to happen. And so I'll deviate and I'll go and I'll write that, mainly because I don't want to forget it. So I at least get it down in a rough form so that I can go back to it. What I have found in both book 1 and book 2 is by the time I get halfway through, I already know the ending and I write the ending.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of connecting that dot when I get to the end.
So some of it sounds kind of like, I mean, you've got things kind of planned, but then you're kind of going on that adventure too, figuring
Yep.
things out.
Yeah, I'm a combination plotter pantser. I have key plot points that I know I want to hit, and the rest of it is let's see how we get there.
Gotcha. Okay. I know when we spoke in person, I guess I'm going to keep this vague because I don't know if you want it out there or not. But you told me that you've got it planned to be a fairly large series.
Yes.
So do you? I guess like when Justin and I talked to Steven Erickson, we asked him like, did he know all the titles for all the books beforehand, or did he kind of figure that out as he went? And he's like, nope, I knew them all before they were written. I'm curious if you're the same way, or maybe not so much.
I know half of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that. Well, obviously, I know the title for book 2. I already know the title for book 3. I know the title for the last book, and then I think the one before it.
Okay.
But the rest of them, I haven't clicked with them yet.
Gotcha. Okay, that's just popped into my head and was a curiosity thing.
Yep. Yeah, I knew that he had done that. I think that's pretty crazy, but again, here I am with half of them already figured out.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he wrote straight through, if I'm remembering right from what he told us. Like he didn't jump around at all, which to me that like I feel like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's how my brain would work with something like that. But then also like that's such a huge example. I don't know how you could possibly commit to that at the same time either.
It's one page at a time.
I guess.
That's all you can do. You sit and you just go one page at a time. And it looks daunting at the beginning because that first page is empty. But then once you get going and you get yourself on a roll, the pages fill up, and before you know it,
you got a book.
Yeah.
Going back to your book cover. So I know I told you, like, just based on, well, the title of your book and the book cover itself, I was expecting a pretty dark story, and it certainly has those elements. Um, but I really did feel a lot of hope throughout reading your story. I think there's going to be a good amount of redemption, but then just like dealing with grief and dealing with loss, you kind of talked about that already. But I guess, how would you describe your book? Because I don't quite see it as grim dark. It definitely feels like it kind of maybe blurs that line a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've got 1 foot in epic fantasy and 1 foot in grimdark, and the path is right down the middle of the two of them, and I just kind of weave back and forth through them. I don't mind grimdark. I like grimdark. Joe Abercrombie is amazing. Mark Lawrence, I really like his stuff too. Um, I just don't know if I can be that dark all the time. So, but for me, the whole point of being dark in this book was I wanted these three guys, Darrigan, Kelnor, and Martin, to start at their lowest point and work their way toward light. And maybe they'll get there and maybe they won't. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like some of that is a roller coaster,
Yeah.
going up and down. And so it's hard. It's maybe hard to pick the lowest spot at times. I mean, while they all have pretty horrible moments,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel like, and I want to stay pretty free from spoilers on things, but my friend Matt, he's pretty early on in your book, and I don't think Jim has started it quite yet. But I asked Matt what he thought so far, and he said has a hard time with what happens early on in your book.
Yes.
And I didn't really say too much to him after that, but having read the book, I know it's not just like a shock value thing.
Right.
There's purpose to it, which I don't know. Doesn't really soften the blow that you get, but just to know it's not pointless violence.
Right. And that was one thing, you don't want to get into spoilers. I'm not a big fan of trigger warnings and things like that, but nothing that I ever do is going to be just for the sake of the shock value of something. It's going to have a purpose for being there. And that opening is the awakening for Kelnor, that he has reached the lowest that he can get, even if it wasn't intentional. He has to find a way to deal with what just happened and recover from that and make amends. Who knows? But how do you do that?
I think just, because the dream that he has is, I think, roughly about halfway through the book, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And to me, like, when I read that, it just made the beginning of the story hit so much harder to me, because I felt like, well, I guess there's not a lot of survivors from that, but like, okay, he just put somebody else through what
Right.
he went through. It happened in a very different way, but
yeah,
causing somebody else that pain that he probably, that he's dealing with.
Yeah. Even with what he was doing. Yeah, even with what he was doing. And even though the Baron was in the position that he was in, his moments are knowing what happened to his son. That's the last thing he's going to remember. And now Kelnor knows that that's what happened. And then knowing what has happened to him, he's lost.
Makes me a little sad thinking about it again.
And then you've got Meryl just trying to bring him back.
She's trying. I guess, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Kelnor will feel.
I know how he's going to feel, but
I'm sure it's going to be all over the place, up and down still. It's not just going to be like flipping on a light switch and like, oh, I'm better type deal. So,
no. Well, you don't. You certainly don't flip a switch and feel better from any of that. So,
no,
but you'll
not if you're
notice
human.
of those three characters, those three core guys at the beginning, the one you don't really see much of a background for is Martin. He's there between Darrigan and Kelnor, but you don't really see where he's coming from, where his bottom is.
I think he was probably the one that I had the hardest time connecting to, and maybe that's why. I guess I didn't think about that fact.
Yeah, but he plays a much bigger part in book 2, and you get to know him a lot better.
Okay. Um. So I the other day I kind of reread the prologue, the Reeve. But it's still, like, I guess maybe it's a little foggy yet, but it kind of, to me, it felt like it simultaneously took place in the past, but also kind of not. I don't really know how to describe it, but I found it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's really anything you can talk to on the Reeve.
Can't really talk too much about the Reeve, but I got to tell you, I went back and forth for about 2 weeks about whether or not to even include the prologue. I wasn't sure whether I wanted it there or not, but ultimately I decided I wanted to because it does play into the story, and the Reeve is a key component throughout the series. So just having a brief introduction of it, I thought was kind of necessary. But it is not a event in the past. It is a current time moment.
Okay.
So,
I think when I was reading that, it kind of made me almost feel like it was a little bit like reading like the breaking of the world in the Wheel of Time
oh, I
that you
got
get in like the Eye of the World.
yeah,
That first prologue, that's what it reminded me of in some ways.
I got you. I could see that.
Um, so magic
Magic.
doesn't seem like there's a lot, or that it's abundant, I guess, or maybe it's kind of been in like a hibernating state, but it seems like it's kind of waking up. So it
Yeah,
didn't really seem like it was a big role. But there's definitely elements of magic there. Um, I don't remember, was it Martin or Darrigan who could like smell that the world was sick, or that the sickness in the air, that type of thing.
that was Kelnor.
Oh, that was Kelmar too?
That was Kelnor.
Damn. I found that very interesting. And then we got to see this like cave where like you could make anything.
Mm-hmm.
I assume magic is going to play a bigger role
It
as we
does.
go forward here.
It does grow quite a bit. So, of course, clearly Shrike has abilities. Um, Apex, the king's advisor, um, is a wizard, for lack of a better term. Uh, I have different words for them, but we'll just call them wizards for now. But that all gets explained more in book 2 and book 3. There's definitely a magic element that has been missing in the world for a long time. That will be explained why. And there's going to be some theories about whether or not it's a good thing that it's coming back.
Okay.
But yes, it will certainly begin to play more of a factor as things move forward.
All right. I kind of like that slow reveal you have going on for it, though. Like that, it's not like a major thing right now. There's just all this other stuff going on. So I like that it wasn't super in the forefront, but that there was little bits and pieces to keep me wanting more. Again, in a different sense. Um, Speaking of the Shrike, I was thinking about this today because I was wondering, like, we have Shrike and I'm gonna say allegedly decimates a city.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't remember, like, was there, well, because yeah, they did walk through there, didn't they? They saw all the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say allegedly. Never mind. Scratch that. But I was wondering about, so the city, the Thorn, was that taken from Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn?
No.
No? Okay.
Nope. That was just that. The whole idea of Thorn was the city of Thorn was an idea that I had back from when I was 16. And it was just the whole idea was that Thorn was this city that no matter what was going on around it, it could never be taken. And so the actual name of the city has long been forgotten because everybody calls it Thorn because it's a thorn in everybody's side.
And doesn't it straddle like the three countries?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I had that right.
Yeah. And so because no one country could take it, its border was on all 3 points.
I feel like that's a unique thing, and I thought that was pretty cool. I couldn't think of anything that I had read that had anything similar like that.
Cool.
Not that I've read every book out there by any means, but
sure.
what I have read.
But no, but again, that's just one of those ideas I had back when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll keep that.
So, it just makes me wonder, like, if Shrike did that, why does he have somebody that he answers to? I mean, the logical thing is that this person must be more powerful, or has got something hanging over his head. But I mean, if you can single-handedly level a city, what's stopping you?
A city that has never been overtaken before.
Right? Yeah, at that even, not just any city.
Right.
I was wondering, does your world, does it have a name?
No, at least not one that's been revealed yet.
Okay.
But one thing I have tried to avoid is this idea that it's Earth. I know there's a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, prehistory Earth, post-apocalyptic Earth, is where these things
Sure.
are at, and you discover all of that as the story goes on. You're like, oh, okay, so they're actually on Earth. This is not Earth. One thing that I actually did, I had to do it very consciously, was that whenever I'm talking about the ground, I don't use the term Earth.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It was tricky to do. There were a couple of times when I was going through my edit, I'm like, oh no, I used Earth there. I got to change that.
Interesting. Okay. One of the first indie books that I read was written by H.C. Newell, The Curse of the Fallen, and I think she did something similar, from what I remember. But I would think, like, yeah, that takes a lot of conscious effort to make sure, because it's probably just so easy. You're typing and
Yeah. Well, you just think
away you go.
It's the ground, the soil, it's Earth. Nope.
Right.
No, it's not.
Yeah. But no, I definitely didn't catch that. All right. I was so kind of continuing off of geography. I like geography, so I was a little bummed out there was no map in the book.
Yeah, I know. I don't have the map done to the point where I'm ready for it to be released yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
So there will be one in the
there
future.
is a map that is underway. It is being worked on. Like I said, I had one from when I was 16, and it was funny because when I was looking at it, I was just chuckling the whole time because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. It's so funny, but like stuff has moved, things have been renamed, the outline of it has changed. So I just had to start from scratch, and it's been a process, but it is a process that is ongoing.
Well, that's cool to know, though. Yeah, I've seen like some videos of people making like fantasy maps, and they just like spill noodles onto a piece of paper or something, and then like trace that and that type of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fun how people come up with some of this stuff. So
yeah. Um, I get the sense that your world, though, it is pretty big. I was curious, like, if you had like a size comparison, like the main continent that we're on right now, like how big is that compared to like the United States?
it would be comparable.
Oh, okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
That's good
it's
size
fairly.
then.
Yeah, so it would be comparable to North America. That would be one of the. There's 3 continents on the planet, and that would be one of them.
Okay, because towards the end, I think we get mention of elves to the west. I don't remember if they were across the ocean or not.
They are not. Although there are people across the ocean, and they actually, ironically enough, play into the story of the Crystal Mere Lake.
Oh,
So you'll know more
interesting.
about them eventually.
Well, keep writing. I want to.
Except for right now.
Yeah, not right now. Yeah. Let's see. I haven't necessarily been going in order with my questions that I've had for you.
That's
So,
okay.
one thing that was pretty cool, and again, I'm pretty sure you talked about this when we met in person, but you got Christopher Racchio to give you a blurb for your book.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, how did you manage that?
Um, well, I had reviewed his book, a couple of his books at that time, for bookreporter.com. I've been writing their fantasy and sci-fi reviews for probably 20 years now. And I just connected with him on Facebook and was chatting with him and told him about, what I was working on, my own book. Um, and I asked if he would be willing to look at it and just give me some feedback, what he thought. And he read it and he sent it back and he gave me the quote, and he's been great. I mean, he's a super nice guy, real down to earth. I'm so thrilled to see that his series is finally caught on.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it was just kind of lingering there for a while. I mean, it was being read and people were buying it, and then people on YouTube started reviewing it, and then it just kind of exploded, and now it was everywhere. Now he's got, you know, special editions, and he just announced today that Daw is reprinting the first book in a new deluxe edition later this year, to coincide with the release of the final book of his series. And that's going to have a couple different goodies on the inside, like a foreword and a short story, and he updated the text for some errors that had come up. So it's going to have a new text, and the cover is going to be slightly different, some foiling and stuff like that. So I'm just thrilled that he's finally getting the attention I thought he deserved. I thought that his work was fantastic. He gets a lot of comparisons to Dune. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You could do worse than be compared to Dune.
Yeah.
But the ideas that he's got are fantastic, and he writes incredibly well. And I've been very happy to support him and push him along. So the fact that he would be willing to read my book, just some nobody first timer who's self-publishing. I was thrilled.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's such a. I would think that's like a huge like a confidence boost for one, but then somebody who's potentially looking at your book sees that and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, he loved it. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. And like blurbs on books, they can be fine and dandy. Sometimes I know to avoid a book based on the blurb. Um, if I see a fantasy book with the this is the next Tolkien, I know I don't need to buy it because that's hyperbole to the nth degree, and it's not even going to come anywhere near it. So I tend to avoid it. But one thing that I've always done, and it's actually how I picked up Steven Erickson's books when they first came out, was that Stephen R. Donaldson blurbed them. I was like, well, if he likes it, and I love everything he's done, then I'll go ahead and I'll get it. And that's how I got into Malazan. But yeah, it was all just, we'd gotten friendly chit-chatting on Facebook, and I just asked, and he offered to go ahead and do that and give me a blurb, and that was it.
Just that simple, huh? Just had to ask.
Yeah, I had to ask. So he has since said that he doesn't do that for anybody anymore. He just doesn't have time.
Sure. Yeah.
So he's just super busy. I mean, he's constantly churning stuff out, so he doesn't have time. And he's a father now. He's got 2 kids now, and life has changed. So, but he's a busy man, and and I get when authors say, I don't have time to do that, so don't ask. It's true. That's fine. They're busy.
Right. Yeah.
But and for some of them, I'm sure it's a question of, I don't even know this person. Why would I do that?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think it would be easier if there's some sort of a connection there, but
Yeah. And so, I think over a few months of getting to chat with him and, talking about his work and what I was working on, in a friendly way, that kind of really benefited me. And I don't know how many people bought my book because it had his blurb on it, but it couldn't hurt.
no, I don't think so at all.
So yeah, I'm more than happy to have that kind of name back me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know I don't know if I read Empire of Silence and I didn't particularly care for it, and I think it is a series I'm going to give another shot. I picked up the Broken Binding editions because I've heard from multiple people, read the second one. So I'm going to give it a go at some point.
Book 2 will slay you. It's so good.
Some of it.
Book 1 is good. Book 2 is great. Book 3 is even better. Book 4 is right up there. I think it's book 5 where he pissed me off, but what was it 4? Yeah, it's 5. Book 5 made me mad. Book 6 was good. It was still good, but it made me mad. In a good way, it made me mad. So,
well, I mean, you gotta take that when you can, I guess.
how could you do that to them?
I always kind of struggled reading first person point of view.
Yeah, it can be a trick. Yeah.
For whatever reason, it didn't work for me in other books, and I kind of pushed myself through that one, and I think that kind of helped break that barrier for me. Where now I don't really feel like I have that issue with them, so I'm kind of one of the reasons why I want to give it another shot. That okay, I can do this. So we'll see what I think, and then I'll try the second book and go from there. But
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely recommend giving it another go, especially once you get into that second book. That's where stuff really starts to go.
well, good to know. I've heard that from a lot of people. So everybody's saying the same thing. I must not be the one that's wrong then. Um, what do you think has been the most rewarding part of writing your story?
Uh, well, the initial main reward was actually getting it done, having a finished book. And there's, it's even better than Christmas, the day your author copies come in the mail. You open up that box and your book is in there. Like it's a heck of a feeling. And that was a great reward. Um, but that changes now because now the book belongs to whoever reads it. It's not just my book anymore. So whoever reads it, they own that story, and how they interact with that story and how it relates to them, and then hearing back from them, whether it's in a tweet or talking with people in a chat or whatever. That's a whole different ball game. Um, it's one thing to have, like your friends like it. They're you kind of hope that your friends are going to kind of like what you're doing, but to have complete and total strangers buying your book and liking it and leaving good reviews and contacting you and saying they enjoyed your book, that's really awesome. It's a really great feeling.
Well, I can tell you that I'm excited for when Matt and Jim finish this book, and the three of us will talk about it. Uh, because I want to know what they think. And so I'm excited for you to get to hear all three of us talk about that later on too. But and it's weird because I'm not a super fast reader, and I've finished this before they started it. Usually I'm the last one to finish, so it's weird being on the other end of things here for me in that regards. But um,
Well, I tried. So you talked about the writing, being similar to like Wheel of Time and even Lord of the Rings and stuff, Game of Thrones. And I try. You would ask the question about those favorite books of mine if they were inspirations. They were in the fact that they just pushed me to want to write.
okay,
But like Stephen Donaldson is very long-winded and descriptive, and like you better have a thesaurus with you when you're reading because he's going to use words you're like, did he just make that up? I got to look that up and see what that is, or a dictionary or whatever. You got to be able to look this stuff up. And Tolkien gets, he gets slagged off as being someone who's a boring writer. I don't find that at all. I think his writing is perfectly fine for the time in which he wrote, and I don't find it boring. But I'm not a very short sentence, quick blow through lines type of writer. But I also don't want to be long winded and overly verbose and confuse people with needing a dictionary and all of this other stuff. I'm trying to use just normal words that you would use in parlance, having a conversation with people. The occasional other word just because you pick stuff up over a lifetime and you use words sometimes. But I wanted it. I didn't want 1,000-page doorstopper because people are put off by super large books. But I did want something that people would be able to read at a pretty quick pace while still not being just a see Jane run type of structure. I wanted it to be, a little more lyrical and have a little more depth to the structure of it. So um, the idea that you, as someone who's a slower reader, was able to really just move through it at a pretty good pace, um, that indicates to me I kind of did what I wanted.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Because yeah, I didn't feel like there was sentences that just, kept going, but it wasn't short, a couple words here and there, but just your descriptions of things I thought were just really well done. Just very clearly painted that picture of whatever was going on in the scene. You could just see it, and that's, to me, that's what I really love when I'm reading something, when I get that cinematic reel in my head going with just that picture in my head. And I mean, you definitely nailed it.
Awesome. Well, it's great to hear.
What so you've gone through this process of writing a book. You got one book out, working on the next one.
Yep.
But just with what you've gone through in the process, what you've learned, is there anything that you would have done differently, with that hindsight now?
I would have started 20 years ago. I mean, really, but I mean, you go back far enough, there wasn't a whole lot for self-publishing. That's basically a fairly common to now phenomenon. Not that it didn't exist in certain forms before, but it's certainly not the mainstream type of option that it is now. And it really opened up that avenue as to being a legitimate viability. Um, there's not a whole lot I would change, other than I would have started earlier. And in terms of what's going on now, just even now, like I'm still trying to change some things, like trying to learn, more marketing techniques and things like that. So that's one of the downsides of doing everything yourself, is that you have to do everything yourself.
Right.
I don't have a marketing team. I'm my marketing team. Presently, I'm not a very good marketing team. Um, I tweet something here and there. I put something on Facebook every once in a while. I throw myself into a sale every once in a while. But I mean, right now, mostly my focus is trying to finish the revision of book 2. And so when I'm spending all of my time doing the revision of book 2, I'm not really doing much in terms of marketing because I'm kind of busy.
Right.
But finding a way to juggle all those balls at the same time, that's something I wish I had more of a handle on. But I could get there. Who knows? But it's a work in progress.
Always learning, right?
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's all very interesting. And man, sometimes it's just a case of something just hits one day, and all of a sudden a book takes off. Like I've watched that happen with other indies, especially on X. You watch out of nowhere somebody tweets something, and next thing you know, all of a sudden they're selling books out the wazoo. I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah, they just get that magic button basically, and
Yeah, it's like all of
it
a sudden
works.
it's like selling like crazy, and it's like he's posting his numbers, and he's like, oh my, like, wow, that's, I mean, good for you. I don't begrudge anybody becoming successful at doing this. It's like, I'm happy for every one of these indie folks that I've come in contact with online, to see them have a burst like that. I think that's great. Just waiting for my burst.
I hope it's coming soon. I
Well,
really do.
see, maybe when book 2 drops, that'll be the kick I need. Who knows?
I know for me, it's not so much of an issue, but I know sometimes people don't like starting things that aren't, a finished series yet.
Yeah, that's one of the arguments that I've run into people who have said, until it's out, I won't buy it. I'm like, oh, but you're killing me, Smalls. Like, this is what keeps us going, is like getting that sale and getting it out there. And it's like, if nobody buys it, then what if that's just telling me there's no market for that? If there's no market for that, why am I going to write any more of it? So it's a fine line to try to walk, and you try to convince people, like, look, it's all going to come. You just got to trust me. But people have been burned before, so it's a hard battle to fight sometimes.
I suppose you look at like George Martin and Patrick Rothfuss is probably like the two biggest ones as far as that. But
yeah, and it's funny because a lot of authors, even ones that don't agree with how they've dragged this production out for so long, they will still say they don't owe you anything. And to a degree, I agree with that. No author owes you any book. They don't. But at the same time, they've got an unwritten pact with you. They've given you the first X number of volumes of a story. Don't you think maybe they do owe you a book to finish it? Like, I can see both sides of that argument. It's tricky. For me, my view is, if I've started a story, I owe it to the readers that are reading that story to finish that story.
like you said, I can see both sides of it too, and I would rather it take a little while so that it's polished and that it's something that you feel good about, versus something that's just rushed and slopped together and pushed out to make the masses happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the struggle I had with book 2, because I had wanted it out last year. And there were delays and things. There were life issues that got in the way of getting it done. But when I did finally finish it, and I was looking through it and giving it my once over, I realized I wasn't happy with it. It wasn't good enough. And so over the past month and a half, I've been doing a complete rewrite up to get it where I really want it. I don't want to half-ass a book and put it out. As an indie guy who's trying to grow a fan base, get one and grow it, the last thing I can do is put out a dud. And I don't want to put out a book that looks half-assed and have people say, well, if he doesn't care, then what's the point? So this one's taking a little bit longer than I wanted it to. But the upside is book 3 is already well underway too. Oh. So actually hit faster.
Well, like I said, I would rather wait and get that product that you are ecstatic about versus the one where you feel like maybe you're flipping a coin on it. So I'll be patient and I'll wait. But I know it's coming.
Too much longer. I'm plowing my way through the rewrite pretty well. So
gotcha. Okay. I know I kind of talked about favorite characters earlier. In addition to the Shrike, I really liked both the kings that we saw, Galasar and Pennon.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked how they seemed kind of to balance each other. You got one that's kind of a hothead and the other one that's a little more calm.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Shrike interacting with both of them and getting 2 very different interactions as well was a lot of fun to read. And I don't know that I want to say which one I like more, but just because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spoil things too much for, if somebody hasn't read this but is curious, that type of thing. So it's kind of hard sometimes to, drum up questions that are spoiler free, but relevant to the book. Not giving away big hints or anything like that.
An interesting point about Galasar, and I'm glad you liked him because he became one of my favorites of the book. But in my first notion of the book, the way it was laid out in my head, he didn't exist.
Oh, really?
He showed up as I was writing.
That's always so interesting. Like these things they just come to you.
Yeah, he was just there, and so he got written into the story, and I think he's so cool.
I liked him too. I'm curious to see where Pennon's story is going to go.
Yeah,
Uh, just some of those. It feels like a cliffhanger, but it feels it's also like it's a few steps away too from being on the edge of that cliff, but it feels like it's close.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And Pennon. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's a man who's lived a life. So his time isn't completely long for the world, but he's got some more in him.
Well, I'm going to see if I've got any more questions here. Those are all the questions that I had jotted down, and then we kind of made up a few as we went here. So I'm going to just make sure it didn't have anything sneak through. And it doesn't look like I have any others.
Cool.
Anything else you would like to add here?
No, I'm glad you enjoyed the book. I'm glad you read the book. I hope more people, particularly people who watch this, become a little more interested in the book and go ahead and pick it up. Other than that, book 2 is coming this year.
Oh, this year?
It will be out
Okay.
this year.
All right. Well, I might have to drive up to you again.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, we'll get together and we'll hang out. I'll sign a book for you again. Not a problem.
Cool. I will say, anybody watching this, the book cover is cool as hell on this. The story was really good. And one of the little details that I really liked is like on your chapters, how there's like I guess I thought there were like blood splatters on the page.
I got you. Yeah.
Just little touches like that. So um, I don't know if that's something that will continue or not.
I don't know. I got to see what my layout girl does.
Okay, so that wasn't really up to you.
No, we kind of talked about it, but for those inside splash page, the borders across the top, I just kind of let her run with it. But she did a great job. She's also the one who did the cover. So
I guess I don't know. I guess it's not so much a blood splatter. It's almost like a cloud or smoke or something.
kind of a mist.
Splatter,
Like Reeve, maybe.
Well, maybe it'll be something else in book 2 then.
Maybe. We'll see. We haven't gone over any of that yet. So
I guess one other thing that's popping into my head here, I wouldn't think that you're going to change this, but you're the one writing it, not me. But all these chapters are told from like the point of view of a character.
yes,
Is that format will carry through?
yes,
Okay. I liked that type of style where, a chapter you're focused on this character. You might interact with other ones, but then, next chapter you got a different character.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
yeah, and it's that when I originally had started writing the story, it wasn't done that way. It was written in the standard form that you normally find a narrative. And I've had people say, "Oh, you do it the way George Martin does it," and then I was like, "Oh yeah, he does do that with Song of Ice and Fire, doesn't he?" But that's
I
not
didn't even think of that.
but that's not where I got the idea. That idea actually came from Stephen R. Donaldson, his sci-fi saga about the gap cycle. All the chapter headings are the name of the character who's the most prominent character in the chapter. And that's where I got it from. I'm like, oh, what if I do it this way? Not even thinking of George R. R. Martin.
Sure.
But yeah, but that's where it came from. Is I liked the way he had done that in the gap cycle. I was like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try that. And I started writing it that way. I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this because then I can really hone in on one guy or one girl and put their thoughts, go through all of those cycles myself and get everything out. the way I want it to, as opposed to head hopping or POV shifts in a larger narrative that can sometimes be jarring.
Yeah, I don't mind that either. Again, like that Erickson does that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to jump around in one chapter, especially when some of those chapters are massive.
Yeah.
But I'm having a hard time imagining if you wrote your book like that. I don't know if it would have had the same impact as how you did it. I guess individual chapters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I made the decision to do it the way that I did. So it seems to have worked out well.
I think so. Well, another couple random questions there, I guess, but
That's okay. I love random questions.
awesome. Well, anything else you can
So I'm
think
going
of
to
here?
ask you a random question.
Oh, all right.
So whenever I did interviews with authors during my book reviews, I always asked them this question at the end.
Okay.
Peanut butter, smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy.
Okay.
Got it. I mean, I'll eat smooth peanut butter. I prefer crunchy peanut butter.
There you go. It's just always a nice question to end on. It's meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but
You know what?
in a little light.
I will probably, if I can remember going forward, I might steal that because that is a good one.
And that's it. That's my only question.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. I think you gave me damn near 2 hours of your time here tonight on a
Nice.
Tuesday night. Super cool of you. Super appreciative.
Well,
Uh,
the pleasure is mine. The fact that you even invited me on to do this, I'm very appreciative of. Getting a chance to talk about the book and perhaps connect with some people that haven't heard of it. Now they will. Maybe that will interest them. But I'm always very happy anytime anybody wants to talk or chat or whatever. People shoot me stuff online. I always reply. So.
Oh, I got another thing here. I was going to ask you. So, yes, this will be a good thing to bring up. Where can people find you? Connect with you, talk with you, that type of thing online. Get your book. You kind of said you can get it pretty much anywhere digitally.
Yep.
But I was curious, your Twitter handle. What is it? What does that mean? Does it mean anything?
It does, as a matter of fact. A lot of people ask me what that means, and it's really pretty easy. So it's NMDPLM31. NMDPLM is nom de plume with all the vowels taken out. And that's French for pen name.
Oh, okay. I would not have never known that.
And 31 is just because I was born on the 31st.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, nice and
simple. Name 31.
Yeah. So it's NMDPLM31 on X. I don't yet have a Facebook author page. There's one that's in process. So people will be able to hit me up there. I do not have a web page yet. I haven't found that I have enough to say to have a web page yet. But that might change once book 2 comes out. So
cool.
Another one of those things I've been looking at, getting information on various options for setting up web pages, things like that. So, but yeah, if anyone's on X and they shoot me a message of any kind, I will reply. I mean, unless you're just being rude, then I won't reply. But
well, I mean, there's always those people out there, but hopefully they're few and far between. So.
Oh well, I've seen far too many of them over the last week or so. It's been pretty crazy online. I'm baffled by people sometimes.
You can be the greatest of species and then the worst at the same time.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, so we are July 8th. This will probably come out like the last full week of the month, I would think, somewhere around there, just to give you a time frame.
Sounds good.
I think, or maybe it'll be sooner than that, because I think it'll probably be about right, somewhere towards the end of the month.
Whatever works for you.
Justin will do it. He does that. So I don't know how much he'll edit this or not. And I've got about like a 15-minute episode that I did talking about your book that I think he'll probably edit this weekend and get that up to our patrons probably like Saturday, and then out everywhere like next week. And then this will follow that. So.
All right. And then next time we'll try to hit that 10-hour one again.
I mean, man, that was a long day. Justin says no, never again. He's not doing that. So
I can imagine. That's a long time. Like I've done that in like gaming, like sat like doing a raid or something for 10 hours, but I never sat in a chat for 10 hours. That'd be pretty crazy.
We had a lot of other people throughout the day, so it wasn't just us. But the only thing, you know what? Maybe I could talk him into it again because he doesn't have to edit it then.
There you go.
There you go, Justin. Just think on that. You don't have to edit. you
Perfect
commit all your time at once.
Let's work for you in the long run.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, well, I gotta get. I'll let you get going here. Thank you again for all your time. I had a great time talking to you. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. It was great talking to you again. I had a good time meeting you the first time.
Yeah,
this was just as fun. So
the time flew by. It did not feel like it's been however long.
No, I thought we'd been here 40 minutes. It's way longer.
Yeah. So. I gotta get packed up. We're leaving for Branson tomorrow morning, so leaving at like 5 a.m. So gotta get ready for that. So
there you go. We'll have a good trip.
Thank you much, and again, looking forward to book 2, A Plague of Ghosts. In the meantime, check out A Conspiracy of Ravens, everybody. It's a lot of fun to read, and I think you're going to be surprised by what you read. Again, looks like it's a dark, nasty book, but it has those moments and a lot more. So it's good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.